Hey 302, I'm Jackie Ferris. This week on the 302, we're going to sit down with our organizational guru and get some serious tips on how to make your life more organized and simplified in the new year. Get ready to purge. The 302 is headed your way. Hey 302, it's about that time of year again when we start thinking about things we want to do differently, some resolutions and all of that. We are joined by our organizational guru, Sue Frost, a good friend of the show, to talk a little bit about her own experience in downsizing and organizing and how we can do that in our own homes. Now, Sue, I know you've been on several times and you are the professional. We go to you for everything. Tell us, first of all, a little bit about your business in case somebody wants to reach out.
Well, it's great to be back. First of all, I should say my business is called Organize My Life, Redesign My World. I work mostly with women because, as I say, they're the ones that pick up and call for directions. Often it'll start with a phone call and not knowing where to start. So I may work with them throughout their home, or sometimes I work with them in their offices, and then we'll switch over and they'll say, "Can you help me at home too?" And it all starts with a goal. Just like we do at New Year's. What are your goals for the new year? And all decisions are made from that. Right. It simplifies the plan.
Now, I know that there's a book that started all this for you. And what is that book?
Well, way back years ago, when I had a big house, 4 bedrooms, a formal dining room, all that stuff, that's the American dream. I had a very demanding, great job, and I was going to school at night, and just all the stresses that many people have. And I came across this book called Simplify Your Life by Elaine St. James, just a little book that I was attracted to in the bookstore, and it changed my life. It was before minimalism was really popular, and in it, and I paged through it recently, I saw it at a client's house, and it talked about ways that you can just take easy steps to declutter, to maybe move to a smaller home, to simplify your errands, maybe not have a lawn anymore, to simplify the organizations you volunteer for, to choose your passions, to simplify and incorporate your hobbies into your way of life and maybe even create a job out of it. And here we are today.
So it's kind of like a roadmap. So we're coming up, there's a lot of resolutions out there, a lot of folks, want to be more organized, want to have a simpler life. And it all starts with a vision, right? A plan.
Exactly. And so New Year's is really my favorite holiday of the year. But as I say to clients, New Year's Day can be any day. You can set a goal and start from any time you like. But New Year's is kind of a ritual for my husband and I. We can sit down and say, what do we want to do this year? And where we're sitting, our new place on the riverfront, we downsized quite a bit, but it was from what do we want to do with our lives? We wanted to simplify, we were drawn to the riverfront, taking walks down here, meeting friends for dinner, all of the activities down here and the diversity. And so here we are. One of the things that I had on my vision board was a view from a terrace at the riverfront, which is very similar to what we're looking at right now.
Now, what is a vision board for somebody who maybe is not familiar?
Well, can I show mine?
Sure, let's take a look.
So a vision board, really, there's no hard and fast rule, but it should reflect the things that you want to incorporate into your life for the coming year. And it is goals. It can be just a picture that reflects that. It can be written words. And this is just a little bit of ours. Trips that we wanted to take together. We work very closely, we bounce things off of each other. There's a picture of a balcony at the riverfront. Here we are. You know, a relaxed lifestyle that incorporates work. I can work right at the desk behind you when I'm not out with clients. Achieve or anticipate needs and deliver and follow up. This is the way I work with my clients every day. Weekend trips, this is, you know, a gathering that we had with family, which is very important to us in Texas. And you know, our common interests. This is a little picture of England where Gary's family lives. So now that we have fewer household demands, because Gary's from England, we've taken off and gone to Virginia for short trips, or Washington. We love Cape May. Gary's mom had a little health scare, and it turns out that it's okay. But if we needed to take off and go to England, we can do that.
So you put all of these things on a vision board, and I've done these before with, you know, the home, or, you know, maybe like another goal like weight loss, or, you know, financial independence or whatever. And you can go through magazines, your favorite magazine, whether it be a home interior magazine or a beauty magazine or a newspaper or whatever.
Exactly.
And just cut these things out and put them on this board. And it's not just, you don't, you know, do it and then forget it. You put it up where you can look at it and think about it, and, you know, kind of, this is a good visual tool.
Exactly. You know, living debt-free, one of the other things that comes from downsizing. We were talking just before we started to film about a book. What was the name of that book?
The Secret.
The Secret. And that was basically, the gist was that, you know, you manifest things into happening, which I loved, but I don't think it happens so magically. I think that we decide we want to incorporate these things into our lives, we make them goals, seeing them helps us realize them. And there's the having it in front of your face, but there's also the subliminal, that we have it there with us, and they do. We start to, all of our actions start to bring these things to life. What does one of our fortune cookies say? Organize your life around your dreams and watch them come true. You can use magazines, you can go online and just search for images of things that you want, meditation and prayer to start the day, and, you know, to create the type of lifestyle that you want.
That you want to
achieve.
More
in the exercise.
Year. And then look at it every day until you put yourself in a place to take action. So we're going to talk a little bit more about the action that you took when we come back.
This is Mike Przicki, Mayor of Wilmington, Delaware, and Wilmington loves the 302.
Welcome back. We're talking with our organizing guru, Sue Frost. Now, Sue, we talked about the vision board and everything, but you've actually done this in your personal life. You're not just talking the talk, you actually walked the walk. Tell me about the steps that you took and the tips that you can share with us on how to, you know, do something similar if we wanted to.
Well, and again, it all starts with that goal. You know, as you and I have talked about, I've seen these things online that says, you know, speed organizing and speed purging. I don't believe in that. I believe in a mindful approach. This is my goal, which was to downsize, and I want a serene environment, so all decisions are based on that. Yes, we know from organizing shows that we have a pile for purging, we have a pile of things we're going to keep and find homes for, we have a pile of things that we're going to donate to charities and maybe those that aren't fit for charity. And then we're going to create zones for each of those items, but really deciding what suits that goal. Whereas when I had a home with 4 bedrooms, I had one closet in the bedroom that was just for this season, that for clothes. In one of the guest bedrooms, that was another season, and shoes and handbags and everything accordingly. In this condo, in this apartment, my husband and I share a closet, and that includes all seasons.
So how do you accomplish something like that? Because I know that that is a common thing that people have. They have one closet for winter, one closet for summer. So how do you do that?
Well, and there's something called a capsule wardrobe. So, and there's debate online about, does that mean 40 items per person? It means to me a reasonable amount. What do I need? The blouse that I'm wearing right now, I can wear in the summertime because it doesn't have any sleeves, but it's perfectly fine to layer it with this, and in fact I like to layer it, in the wintertime or in the fall. So I choose things that I can make versatile, and I decide on a reasonable number. Then, that it's arbitrary to me, and some of those things I pass on to clients. You pick an arbitrary number, and it could be, is enough t-shirts or socks that fit in this small drawer? Is that enough? We pick an arbitrary number because there's no one rule, but space is finite.
Sure.
So,
like maybe eliminating duplicates
and that's the other thing. Go through with myself and my clients a chain of questions. Where my parents and my grandparents were children of the Depression era, you never got rid of anything because you might need it someday. Where I turn that around and say, more likely a good rule of thumb is, when was the last time you used it? Because that is really reflective of how useful something is. So it hasn't been used in a long time. Your chances are you're not going to need it, or might borrow it if you needed something like that. And then if you decide, yes, I need it, how many do you need? How many belts do you need? A black one and a brown one?
Yeah.
And those are the rules that we use. I'll admit that I have several pairs of shoes because I'm a female and I like pretty shoes, but the least often used might go up into an area of the closet that I don't access a lot, and the ones I use often, maybe for work or just running about town, are the ones that are accessible. And the same thing for coats. I need a winter coat, I need a raincoat, I need, a snow coat, and something that I just use to throw on if we're going for a walk on the riverfront.
So I guess just kind of doing one pass and eliminating duplicates and things like that, and then just kind of keep going until you have a small enough to whatever area you have assigned it to. But I mean, simplifying, it seems like you've done a lot more than just clothes. This is a beautiful condo, but it's not that large.
No, when we were preparing for you all coming, I asked my husband, and I thought I remembered that the condo was 625 square feet. I don't know where I got that number from, and he said, no, it's 825. So the moral of the story is, it really wasn't important to me how big it was. The importance was the location, what it offered us, and that it was big enough. I didn't really care how big it was, and to some people that might sound strikingly small.
Yeah.
But it really is perfectly sufficient for our needs.
Yeah.
And we have enough, more than enough for us, for our clothing, for our books. My husband's a bit of a bibliophile, so we have an abundance. The kitchen is more than enough. We have cabinets to the ceiling, and the things that we use every day are at our fingertips, and anything that we use that are for special occasions, we use a step tool to get to for those things. But back to the question of how many do you use every day or throughout the week? What do you use if you're having a party, if we're talking about things in your kitchen? And then, if you're talking about I might someday, then
that's an indication that maybe you don't need it.
That's an indication of you might need it, you could borrow it, you could rent it, and so on, because those maybe some days are the things that keep our homes cluttered.
And we're going to talk about clutter and small ways to deal with it when we come back.
I'm Paul Lovett, local historian in Rehoboth. You'll find all the history you want to find on 302.
Welcome back. We're chatting with Sue about how to make our lives easier and more simplified and organized. And we were talking about decluttering and getting rid of things. And a lot of times it's hard because maybe it was a gift or it has some kind of sentimental value. So it's almost like you're set up to fail from the beginning.
I see a lot of that. There's sentimental attachment, and there are these social rules that we convince ourselves of. I can't get rid of that. I shouldn't because it was a gift. So we talk a lot about that, clients and I. And if you have things hanging in your closet, but they're not worn, then they shouldn't be there. The closet should be filled with things that you would jump into tomorrow. So if it's sentimental, there are options. You can take pictures of it, and then you always have the picture. If that was the dress you wore when your child was baptized, but it's out of style, pass it on to somebody that might use it, but you always have those beautiful pictures of one of the loveliest occasions in your life. But if you continue to hold on to things that you're never going to wear again, you're continuing to take up space, and space is not infinite. So you have to decide that you're getting to a point that this is my goal. We go back to the goal and the vision, that this is what I want my wardrobe to be. And that is not. And if it's very special, I can certainly say that I've set up memory boxes with the first outfit a child has come home in, a christening dress, but there are limits to how much you can put in a memory box. So with that in mind, but I've purged items with a client, a woman, and we've gone through a closet rather, and made it less than half of what it was before, with that rule in mind. It should only be made up of the things that you'll wear every day. And if it's less than it was when we started, I will hear invariably that I feel like I have so much more to wear.
Because you can see it.
You can see it all, you can match things, it's so much easier, and you can put your hands on the things that work. And all of the other things, it's like a good workout, that it's a little bit challenging as you're doing it, but once you've done it, it feels great.
Now you talk about zones and using things and steps. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, zones, so with the principle of when we keep things, the fewer steps there are to get to it, the more likely we are to get it and then put it back where and return it to where it's supposed to be, so that we stay organized, right? So think of zones in your closet. We set up zones that there are all the blouses, here are all the skirts, and so on. So I do the same thing in my kitchen. Here are my baking needs. Here is my drawer that has what my family used to call the everything drawer. You might have your scissors in there and your birthday candles and so forth. My canister next to the stove that contains all the items that I use every night for dinner. And then the casserole dishes in the Tupperware area. Those are what you call zones. Just like your books. Your bookshelf is a zone for your books. My husband actually does still use records. That's a zone, like your coat closet.
So, and when acquiring things, because saying no to to purchasing new things is hard for some folks. So, is there a rule? I've heard like one in, one out, but you have kind of a different take on that.
Sure. So let's just pretend you've organized your home. Then one in, one out maintains that space. But if you haven't gotten there yet, it should be one new thing in, 2 or 3 things out, because you're still trying to get to organized and to get to a good number of things in your space.
And in most cases, you only typically need one of something, right? But we all have like 3 and 4 and 5.
Well, and that is, again, one of the questions is, do you use this? Where do you use it so that it goes to the place? And then is one enough? So 1 ice cream scoop, that should be enough. maybe 2 spatulas if you're icing a cake and doing something else that you don't want to contaminate either one. How many do you really need of something? And those are the kinds of questions that often come up, that we feel we need many things to make life easier in the kitchen, but the converse is true, that the more we have, the more that ends up in our sink, the more work. The same is true of laundry. The more clothes we have, the more laundry we're doing. It makes life harder.
And the whole point of organizing is to make life more simple.
Exactly. The more we have, the more we have to maintain. Dust, clean, wash, organize. It's when I go into a home that has many things, you can organize it, but it's tougher to maintain.
Yeah, yeah. So if someone wants to reach out and they want to talk to you about, you know, what they should do in their particular space, whether it be a closet, a kitchen, or whatever, how do people get in touch with you?
So they can find me at www.organizemylife.net, or they can call me at 302-415-2317.
Sue, thank you so much for joining us. I want to go home and clean out my closet for sure now.
It's always great to be with you.
All righty, we'll be right back. That wraps things up for this week. I'm Jackie Ferris. We'll see you next time on the 302.